This is an interesting episode of your regular program in Business and Economy, where we discuss contemporary economic issues, the resultant impact, and the way forward. I am Ile Emeche. The economic policies of the government in respect of the deregulation of the energy sector, the floating of the naira, and the inability of farmers to cultivate their crops has led to an all-high price hike that has eroded the purchasing power of Nigerians. Also, the activities of hoarders and illegal export of food produce to neighboring countries have compounded the already choked economic hardship in the land. On its part, the federal government has rolled out certain measures to ameliorating the hardship by ordering the release of 42,000 metric tons of grains and other essentials from the reserves. Notwithstanding these cushioning policies, the hardship experienced by the people is yet to abate, as the people's opinion reveals that the citizens are yet to fully maximize the benefits of the release of grains and others. Today on the program, Professor of Criminology and Security Studies, Professor Akoji Ocheja, is my guest and will be joining us immediately after the business news to take a look at the topic captioned "The Hardships in the Land." We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us.
Following the effect from the fuel subsidy removal and the flotation of the naira in the country, some citizens are appealing to the federal government to prioritize measures that can help moderate the economic situation while highlighting high prices.
Country is so terrible. People are crying for all these things that is happening. First of all, if you come to the market with 50,000, you cannot buy a tins of a little bag that you can take it to your house. A kilo of a meat now is 5,000. Irish potatoes, a dustbin bag is 5,000. You can imagine. Even a common salt that we used to buy 100, now it's about 2,000 or 200, 300. How can we survive in this country? We need a help. We need a situation that they can even assist the government. Things are going too bad, and anybody that you talk to will just as if they were quarreling with you because of the situation of the country.
Buying like all layers, before we buy 2 pipe from pottery, but now even for pottery it reaches 4,000 naira. So the thing is to increase. Well. So what we want, make everything cheap. This is what we want now. Right now it's too cost. Because so not only chicken, so everything is too expensive now. But what we want, make everything come down. What we make chicken cost like that? It is from the what we pump. That is why everything costs. We want everything come down, then the chicken will come down. Like corn, before for our village, hometown, farmers they do palm well, but now even these bandits problem not allowed us to go palm. Government do is I want to make government help people, because people too they suffer. People they in hungry day too much in this country.
For market, people no buy market because for market everything they cost. Meat now they cost. Every day say market it cost. Every day they add money. Every day add money. No say you come down, go up. People no come buy market. People they bear come market. Let people carry money, small money, 100,000 naira like 150. You can go put carry like a small bag. Come on now, meat they say 5,000. Carry cost. Everything they cost. People they pay market. Everything they cost say money no the money. But I don't tell this market. I don't tell this business. I beg government help people now. Help people. Help them well. Like people they cry. Some more time people will die. Some more time people they die for Zarot. Plenty people they beg person. And then you see person wear clothes, wear better clothes. Wear better clothes. Come market help you. Say they beg you. I beg help them. I like the whole you, the whole you.
Before we are selling rice, mudu, 700, 800. But now we are selling Nigeria rice. Nigeria rice before was 800 naira, but now we are selling it 2,200 naira. Why foreign rice before we are selling it just 1,000 naira? Now it's 3,500. We are talking about our gari. Gari before is very cheaper than any other thing, but now gari mudu is 1,000. Need our government to help us, please.
They say effective monitoring and supervision of the initiative for the distribution of palliatives have become necessary. Ile Emeje, Aso Television News.
So glad to have you join us in this interesting episode of Business and Economy. And our guest, as I mentioned earlier, is a professor of criminology and security studies, and he doubles as the head of Department Criminology and Security Studies of the National Open University of Nigeria, NOUN. He is Professor Akoji Ocheja. Prof, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we all heard what the people said and what they are saying at the moment concerning the economic situation in the country, and it is no longer news that there is hunger in the land. And someone will be tempted to ask, how did we get here?
Well, looking at the situation on ground now, one will look at it from a holistic viewpoint, where we look at it from both the remote and immediate causes, or how we got to where we are today.
Okay.
So going down memory lane, when you look at the remote, to look at it from the remote causes, you will discover that over the years we've been having problem of unemployment. So many people that are qualified to work, they have their certificates, they have gone to school, believing that education is the key to life. Upon completion of their educational program, they came to discover that there are no jobs for them. So even in this difficult situation that we face today, you agree with me that those who earn salaries, those that are working, those that have a source of livelihood, even though the hardship is a general one, but theirs will be, or has been better compared to those who do not earn anything at all. So at the remote level is unemployment. And with unemployment, life cannot but remain a calamity and disastrous to the individual. Then beyond unemployment, still at the remote level, there is insecurity. There have been insecurity. Farmers have not been able to go to the farm. A lot have been killed on their farm. Villages have been expelled and taken over by bandits and hoodlums. And as such, under such a situation of insecurity, it becomes difficult for farmers to be stable before they can even talk of going to the farm to cultivate. And what that means is that at the end of the day, the level of productivity will be low. What will come out as their productivity level, for instance, maybe a farmer that used to harvest 10 bags of maybe
A particular product.
particular product, will end up not having any because he could not even attempt to go to the farm because of insecurity.
The fear of being killed.
The fear of being killed, and the first thing in life is life itself.
Yeah.
So you need to secure your life. A lot have abandoned their villages and gone to safer places where they have little or no land to cultivate, and as such, that goes to show that the quantity of food in the society is far less compared to what used to be in the past, not minding that population keeps increasing day by day. Then beyond that, at the remote level too, you talk about rural-urban drift. So many youths that would have remained in rural areas to contribute their quota in the production of goods and services prefer to move to city centers, because of the urban life or city life, electricity, good road, basic social amenities, health, educational institutions, and what have you. And that too has taken the bulk or the chunk of the able-bodied men and women that would have formed the bulk that should have worked on the farm in rural areas. And as such, you discover that most urban centers are overpopulated in the name of seeking for job that may not be there, or that is not forthcoming as fast as expected. Yeah. And that too is a lot of problem. And don't forget that while at the urban centers, they still need to eat and drink while looking for job and all of that. Then in the immediate, like beyond the remote causes I have mentioned and several other remote causes, is the removal of subsidy. Recall that at the inaugural ceremony of President Tinubu, Ahmed, he pronounced that he was going to remove fuel subsidy. And that too, before setting the ball rolling, because there are conditions that are supposed to be put in place before that subsidy removal would have taken off. This is something that he, as an activist some years ago, had put across to the government of the day. The conditions that will warrant the removal of subsidy. Unfortunately, he did not set those conditions right before pronouncing the removal of fuel subsidy. And as such, although immediately after then he has put so many things in place that could or should cushion the effect of the removal of subsidy. But that removal, especially without putting those things in place, has gone a long way to create a high level of hardship to so many individuals in the society. One of such is the 35,000 naira for federal workers that is supposed to be paid for transportation. That is supposed to be done on monthly basis. But you agree with me that so many individuals are yet to receive that after the first payment of that of September last year. Does it mean workers are not going to work since October, November, December, and here we are in February of 2024. That money stopped. Wherever it is hanging, it is part of what has created the hardship for federal workers. Then not to talk of state workers and local government workers. So in other words, we are saying that the removal of the subsidy is the immediate cause of this, one of the immediate causes of the hardship experienced in Nigeria today. That is not all. There are other immediate causes of the hardship in Nigeria today. Beyond the removal of subsidy, there is the hydra-headed problem of corruption.
Corruption?
Yes, like I said, the federal government, after the pronouncement, made frantic efforts to put so many things in place to reduce the impact of the removal of the subsidy in Nigeria. Yeah. However, in spite of the well-meaning intentions of the federal government, the money does not get down to where
Beneficiaries.
it is supposed to go. You discover that allocations have been increased for state governments in order for palliatives to trickle down from the federal to state and local government, as the case may be. But the question is, did those palliative measures and opportunities created by the federal government, did they get to the people? So many states, so many legislators, and so many executives, as the case may be, rather pocketed this money meant for the general populace of their state and local government. And you discover that even though grains, rice, maize, beans, and all of those were shown out by the federal government to states and local government, they did not get to the people concerned. And as such, people were made to come and write their names so that by the following day they could come and get the rice, get the beans, get the maize.
All of the palliatives.
And all the palliatives that the federal government rolled out. But at the end of the day, after collating those names, by the next day, those things were not found and they were not given to the people that wrote their names. And part of those things are the things that have led to tomorrow and next tomorrow's program of protest against the federal government as it relates to hardship in the land. When policies are made, it ought to be monitored to ensure that it gets to the implementation is actually fully done. But once that is not done, then the aim is defeated. It is on record that federal government has released grains, has released money, has increased allocation. But what are the effects of those monies, of those palliative measures that federal government has done in states and local government levels across the nation? Only few governors, only few local government chairmen implemented that. You are all aware that there have been places that palliatives have been hoarded across several states where people discovered and went to break it, the warehouses in order. That is not the intention of the federal government. The federal government has given out those things, but the people that are implementing these policies are hoarding it for only God knows why. And that is where I talked about corruption, because there are cases of people hoarding and exporting what we lack, what we need most in Nigeria now to neighboring countries. And remember that Nigerian borders are so porous. There are many and they are porous. They are not well manned, and as such food items are taken out, and that too is impinging on the hardship that the people experience in Nigeria today.
Recall that government's intention, one of government's intention for implementing or introducing all of these policies or reforms has to do with corruption that you just mentioned. And fighting corruption is getting out of hand to some persons. We also heard in the Vox Pop where people were complaining and talking about how the government can also improve its institutional framework on monitoring and evaluation of its policies so that it gets to the right people. We are talking about the palliatives getting to the people at the state level, then down to the local government level, and a lot of persons have come up to complain that they did not receive, it didn't get to them. Assuming that you are called to advise the stakeholders in the distribution of these palliatives, what would be your advice? How else do you think the government can improve its monitoring and evaluation processes? Because this has been there right from time and it is repeating. This government came up with the intention to fight corruption. How do you think the government can go about it?
Well, there are several ways that government can handle these corrupt practices of governors and other people implementing policies at the state and local government level, or at the rural grassroots level. The first is by making a pronouncement, which government does, but in doing that, the quantity that goes to a particular state, the day it's going to leave, the movement and all of those should be made public to the people. Okay. Then beyond that, we have 36 states. There's nothing wrong if federal government appoints 2 or 3 individuals from maybe Federal Ministry of Agriculture or whichever ministry that may be in charge of all those. Maybe
even defense to follow and safeguard this.
Yes, to safeguard and to ensure that it gets to the right people before the 3 people that were sent along with the food should return back to Abuja or to their various organizations or ministries. Okay. Then beyond that, government can insist on getting the videos, live sharing process of those palliatives.
Maybe they should invite people like us to have the coverage.
Yes, there should be the coverage from media houses, radio, television, newspapers, and all of those. And it is not even compulsory that the whole state should be done
at the same time.
At the same time. You can take maybe a geopolitical zone, say maybe northeast, finish with that, northwest, north central, like south, southeast, southwest. All that we have, so even if it's 1 week to one geopolitical zone, it could be done.
For full implementation of
implementation and monitoring. Ensure that these things are done within the timeline, and have the videos or have federal government representatives to ensure that the sharing formula is implemented appropriately, rather than giving it to one individual to go back to his state, and what the individual end up doing is just to either give a little to his party faithfuls and the rest will be sold out or exported to another country, as the case may be.
It has been alleged, I call it an allegation now, that the Nigerian borders are many and they are porous. And it takes me to what the people's opinion also are reiterating, that how is it difficult for the government to open the borders as a remedial solution in the short run? Because if the borders are porous and people are coming in, they are going, they are taking goods from Nigeria to neighboring countries without serious monitoring, the people are saying, why is it not better for the government to open the borders, at least for the sake of consumables, food items that concern the ordinary Nigerian? Why is it difficult for the government to do so?
The difficulty lies in the fact that in trying to solve one problem, you may end up creating another. We are all talking of the exchange rate, dollar increasing and all of that in exchange with Naira and all of that. So when you allow things to come in, you are using the Naira to pay out. And that too goes a long way to reduce, to devalue the purchasing power of the Naira. We have this food in Nigeria, so we don't even need to import. What we need to do, like I mentioned, corruption is a hydra-headed problem, and it affects every aspect of life. The borders are porous, yet, yes, but the federal government has a list of all those inlets and outlets within the Nigerian territory. It's over 200 and something, but in geography, they will give you the statistics. And federal government has the statistics. So it is not impossible for government to send customs, immigration, and all of those to those borders that we said are porous. All the inlets and outlets, the federal government knows. And it is not even impossible that federal government has its agents at all these border points. But the point is whether the people are doing what they are expected to do, or they are closing their eyes to some goods to be taken out of the country and for some goods to be brought in without, regulating it like the federal government instructed.
Okay. Sorry to cut you short, because you were saying something that led to another question, and that is, it has to do with this belief that the people themselves are a contributory factor to the ills in any society, because some experts have come up times without number to say that wherever there are negative trends in any society, not just Nigeria, any society across the world, that the people themselves are a contributing factor. When we bring it down to Nigeria, can we say that Nigerians too are not ready to fight corruption, or is it a case of trying to corner some monies into your individual account while you make other people to suffer?
Well, corruption has not been made to be uninteresting in Nigeria. I said that because the punishment for corrupt practices are not severe. A lot of people are seen as sacred cows. So many corrupt practices have been uncovered. Looted funds have been recovered from individuals, from organizations, from office holders, and all of that. However, the level of punishment for corruption is not so uninteresting. It's not as much as it is expected. In other crimes that people run away from corruption, there are corrupt practices that will attract death penalty. There are some that will attract amputation and all of that.
Like in China?
In China and
we heard that
all
in China,
of that.
If you steal anything, either
you go in for it.
They'll kill you.
But here, we've not heard of cases like that. The highest has been life imprisonment and all of those. And by the time the next administration comes in, as if the corrupt practices of that person have been legitimized, you discover that the new government will rather be forgiving people, setting them free, giving state pardons, and all of that. People that were pardoned in Nigeria have been rearrested in the UK in time past, and all of that. So the punishment for corruption should be straight, and it should be applicable to whoever that is involved, not minding the person's position or affiliation with the party in power. Until that is done, people will continue to be corrupt, and they will get away with it, hoping that either if they come to the government of the day, or if they align themselves with the government in power, they will be pardoned.
It seems to me that the level of belief system, when you are talking about capital punishment in relation to maybe religious belief and sentiment, tribal sentiment, seems to make Nigerians to be on the edge. As if we don't tilt here or there. And that will lead me to a question like, are you sure we are ready for capital punishment in Nigeria at the moment? Because if my brother is guilty on an offense for capital punishment, I may go all out to do whatever I can to ensure that my brother is free from the punishment. Do you think we are ready at the moment for capital punishment so as to eradicate or reduce the incidences of corruption from Nigeria?
Well, our institutions are weak. If we have strong institutions, then nothing stops us from implementing any type of punishment. Then beyond that, the issue of ethnicity, tribalism, religious beliefs, and all of that. By the time we continue to play around these sentiments, we will not get anywhere. The law, if you look at the judiciary and the symbol of judiciary across the world, you discover that it's always a woman, you know, with the arms wide open and with the face covered. Meaning, whatever an individual does, that symbol of that woman represents the law. You know, you see a knife, you see the weight balance on the other side of the hand. Then, what that means is that the law should close its eyes not to look at the personality or the individual that is involved in any crime, and now apply the punishment that is expected against that individual, no matter who is involved in committing that crime. So we need to strengthen our institution, the judiciary, the legal institution, the law enforcement agencies, the Nigerian police, the judiciary, and the correctional services. Until they are properly strengthened, then we will not get out of this vicious cycle of corruption and impunity, ethnicity, and religious sentiments.
All right. Yesterday, while I was going through the streets of the Federal Capital Territory for Vox Pop, that is people's opinion, I met some young guys who came from some states across the Federation, whom, as you mentioned earlier, ought to remain at the rural level to contribute their quota. But their complaint was insecurity, lack of amenities, and the rest of them, institutions. What would be your advice to the government in the establishment of institutions or basic amenities at the rural level to encourage these able-bodied young men? Is there anything else the government can do to encourage them to remain at the rural level instead of coming to loiter around the cities where they have little or nothing to do, or for them, they are coming for a greener pasture?
Well, government can do so much by de-emphasizing or to de-emphasize the need for rural-urban drift.
Okay.
The things that are available at the urban centers, that is the social amenities, it was the federal government that created those things at the city centers, or like Abuja, like you said, the Federal Capital Territory, and state governments at the state level and local governments. They could be replicated. In the real sense of it, I want to strongly believe that nobody will be happy to be outside his or her own home or place of origin if the place is as comfortable as the urban center. If what you are looking for in the urban centers are there in the rural community, then what's the point? Then in terms of employment, the land is always there, and the supply does not decrease.
All right.
Youth should be encouraged to go into agriculture.
Okay.
Because that way, there is no family that does not have land, at least at the rural level.
That's true.
And even if a family does not have, it will not be too difficult to get from a neighbor or around to farm. So government needs to encourage the rural dwellers by making provisions for them to encourage them to practice agriculture safely. We are talking about insecurity. Government knows what to do to secure the environment. One of it is the state police that has gone through the first reading in the National Assembly. And if that sails through, to a large extent, I think there will be some level of security at the local level, even though state security or state police has its own challenges of being used by those in power to oppress the opposition in their state or at the local level.
Okay. Recall that we are about to enter into the farming season, because the rain season has stepped into the season, and we experienced the first rain some weeks ago. And again, you are talking about how the government can encourage farmers and these young persons to remain at the rural level in order to contribute their quota to the production of produce, the production of various farm implements and farm products. In the past, remember that agri-extension workers were usually deployed to assist the farmers on the best practice for better results. I remember growing up as a child, most of the time, if not all, at a particular period, especially the rainy season, these agri-extension workers were deployed to the rural areas to help the farmers to get what they are supposed to know. How well can the agri-extension workers be encouraged to better assist the farmers in doing what is right as of today? Because we hardly see some of them even at the rural community. How do you think the government can encourage all of these workers so that the farmers will get the full results?
The extension workers, originally their station is even, the nature of their work is an outstation kind of work. Each extension worker is given a jurisdiction within which he is to educate the people and aid them with information and the best farming or agricultural practices.
But are they still there? Do we have them at the rural area today?
They are there, except that they to have challenges. We just talked about palliatives not getting to the people. The same problem applies to farm implements, chemicals, tools that the federal government sends down to various locations. Tractors are being stolen and sold out and all of that, or they are not available for farmers to use. The agri-extension workers can be better positioned by one mobilizing them or giving them mobility. In olden days, like you said, they used to give them motorcycles or bikes to enable them move around the area of jurisdiction. Then beyond that, they could be given training from time to time on the contemporary or current trends in agricultural practices.
Especially the use of chemicals.
Yes, improve the agricultural seedlings and technologies that will improve the yield of some of these products that are being cultivated by our farmers. So training, giving them mobility, taking care of their welfare, giving them public address system and all of that they could use to even talk to the farmers when they are gathered. Then provision of implements and tools, chemicals, for them to distribute to the people. Provision of improved seedlings to distribute to the people. There are research institutes across the country, like you used to know in the past, and they are still there. We have in Benin, we have across all the states of the Federation, even up north, to take care of irrigation farming and all of those. But the question is, what is meant for the farmers, even through the agri-extension workers, is being hijacked, is being corruptly embezzled, is being taken away by some people for their selfish ends, particularly state governors, state commissioners of agriculture, and all those that are concerned with the practice of agriculture in states and in local government.
Okay, this question is coming on the backdrop of the fact that a lot of people are afraid of inorganic fertilizers, organic fertilizers, and the use of chemical. And you will agree with me that some persons, we have lost some persons to the use of chemicals. For example, so a family bought beans from a particular market, cooked the beans, and every member of the family that partook, that consumed the beans, lost their life. And this can be attributed to the wrongful use of chemical, because I don't know, if we don't encourage or retrain these agric extension workers, it might result in that kind of a problem. There are some sicknesses and diseases traceable to the use of some chemicals in food production, especially fertilizers, and name them. Again, in which way can the government support these people to bring organic fertilizer as against the use of inorganic fertilizers? And I'm sure it will still boil down to the problem of corruption.
Definitely.
But when it has to do with food consumption, when you take anything that is chemical into your system, you are bound to lose your life. So is there anything the government can do in this respect?
Yes, government can do so much by setting up controls in terms of like the government has a grain reserves. You know, if government, for instance, is the highest player in terms of storage of goods, it therefore means that it will be very easy for the government to control the release of these stored food items. Then in terms of the use of fertilizer in cultivation, we have so many fertilizer companies in Nigeria beyond the fertilizers that are imported to Nigeria from other countries, that the chemicals may be very high. And if government encourages these local producers of fertilizers, especially the organic ones that you mentioned, then there will be a lot of it available for farmers to use without having to rely on the ones that are chemically produced and all of that, leading to reduction in the lifespan of the people that consume such foods from such fertilized farm produce.
All right. And with that advice for the government to ensure that effective implementation of their monitoring and supervising institutional framework is key, we have come to the end of today's edition of the program, Business and Economy. The guest we have been speaking with is the head of Criminology and Security Studies of the National Open University of Nigeria, NOUN, and he is also the head of the department, Criminology and Security Studies, Professor Akoji Ucheja. Prof, we thank you so much for finding time to be on our program today.
My pleasure being here.
All right, and to you, our esteemed audience, we sincerely appreciate your time with us on today's edition of the program. Stay with us for more of our programming. I am Ile Imeje. Thank you.